The Last Dance will be released 2 episodes at a time all the way through May 17th. We know a lot about it because ESPN gave critics episodes 1 through 8 to review. They couldn't give them episodes 9 and 10 because they weren't even finished yet. So no, LeBron, they actually weren't done.
The whole that thing 100,000 times. It's done. It's been done.
It's done.
This video will make predictions about what we'll see in The Last Dance. We know we'll see unseen video, closed practices, Jordan alone in his hotel room hiding from crowds of people, team meetings. We also know that the 1998 season will not be the only focus of the docuseries. There isn't enough footage to make a 10-hour doc from just the Last Dance season. Every episode will have part of the 98 season as the spine, but it'll branch off into other times in the Bulls dynasty. The first title, Jordan's first retirement, his return. Every main player is gonna have his own backstory told. Young Scottie Pippen will have a chunk. Phil Jackson will have a chunk. The only guys who don't get featured in episodes 1 through 8 are Dickie Simpkins and Luke Longley. We also know that the doc will address conspiracy theories about Jordan's baseball actually being a suspension for gambling, conspiracy theories about his dad's murder. It'll even touch on Space Jam. And none of that is a guess. Those are facts. We know that. Now let's get to what we don't know and make some predictions. Hey guys, it's Casey Kiernan, host of the AM Hoops YouTube channel. Hit us with a subscribe and notification bells because it helps out the channel a lot. We don't have games, but we do have 5 quality NBA videos per week and The Last Dance. And the number 5 thing I'm predicting is that Jerry Krause is gonna come off looking awful. Every story needs a bad guy, right? And Jerry Krause has always been the villain of the Bulls dynasty. He wanted the credit, saying that players and coaches don't win championships, organizations win championships. He and Phil Jackson hated each other. Kraus even said if they went 82-0, Phil was gone after 1998. He said that knowing Michael Jordan said he wouldn't play for anyone else. Scottie Pippen was almost always mad at Jerry Krause. If you can believe this, Scottie never made more than $4 million during the dynasty. In 1998, he was making $2.7 million. In 2020 dollars, that's about $4.5 million. Players this year making more: Ish Smith, Trey Lyles, and Frank Ntilikina, to name a few. Besides underpaying one of his most important players, Kraus also constantly involved Scottie Pippen in trade rumors. And the reason I'm predicting that Jerry Krause is gonna be the villain of The Last Dance is you can hear hints of all those storylines in this new commercial.
They developed a tension between them.
I was getting irritated. We were winning.
We were the greatest team ever.
I will not choose to play for another coach.
I felt insulted.
This will be Phil's last year as the coach of the Bulls.
In Phil fashion, he had a name for it.
So I called it The Last Dance.
Clearly painting the GM as the villain. It's just too bad that Kraus won't be there to defend himself. He passed away in 2017, but I do predict people will hate Jerry Krause even after episode 1. Number 4, Michael Jordan's competitiveness will shock some people, gambling included. The stories of his competitiveness are legendary. We know he punched Steve Kerr in the face. He gambled on everything. He'd even cheat to win. The legend goes that Jordan would ask the Jumbotron guy to tell him which little color ball would be under the right hat on the Jumbotron during timeouts so he could bet on it. Scottie Pippen and Steve Kerr already confirmed that story.
He never betted me. I don't think he betted Steve. Steve's not betting anybody, but he did bet. We used to have a security guy sitting at the head of our bench. His name was John Caps. He's now passed away. But Caps would bet Michael every game. The only way Caps would win if he was able to pick the right one.
Right.
Because if Michael picked, obviously he knew who he was going to win. But yeah, he probably beat the guy in about $4,100.
Okay, so that story was kind of funny, right? I think there's gonna be a lot of stories in The Last Dance people aren't gonna think are funny at all. I think people are gonna call Michael Jordan a bully. MJ even said himself, quote, "When people see this footage, I'm not sure they're gonna be able to understand why I was so intense, why I did the things I did, why I acted the way I acted, and why I said the things I said. When you see the footage of me riding Scotty Burrell, you're gonna think I'm a horrible guy. But you have to realize that the reason why I was treating him like that is because I needed him to be tough in the playoffs. Now, some background here. Scotty Burrell played 1 season with the Bulls, scored just over 5 points a game. He'd been in the league for 4 years, but MJ treated him like a rookie. One example was Jordan criticizing Burrell going out late at night with a bunch of women. He calls him Dennis Rodman Jr. Burrell is begging the camera people to stop recording in case his parents see it, but MJ calls the shots. I think when people see that and other things we don't even know about yet, people are gonna say Jordan wasn't a great guy, like we see in commercials or in Space Jam. He was a bully. My takeaway though is that competitiveness is just as much a skill as, say, playing basketball, and MJ was elite at both. Prediction number 3, MJ's interviews will still leave us wanting more. Jordan has always been a guarded person. He's not like a Dennis Rodman or a LeBron James or Dwayne Wade these days, where they wear their emotions on their sleeve and really let us in. Instead, we're always wondering, what is MJ like as a person? Who is he beyond basketball? For example, in Dwayne Wade's documentary, he filmed himself waking up the morning after his last game for us all to see the emotion.
My head is pounding. Last night was mad real. My emotions are still all over the place.
So that's Dwayne Wade. Michael Jordan would never intentionally let us in and show that degree of emotion. There were candid moments in Jordan's career where people were filming him having a moment to himself, maybe shedding a tear, but never in an interview setting. Ahmad Rashad, who is MJ's most trusted interviewer, even said that to MJ's face not long ago.
After all is said and done, when you're inducted into the Hall of Fame, you seem to be as fiery and as competitive as ever. For a lot of your career, people never really got to know the real you.
Leroy Smith, he started the whole process for me because when he made the team and I didn't, I wanted to prove not just to Leroy Smith, not just to myself, but to the coach who actually picked Leroy over me. I wanted to make sure you understood you made a mistake, dude.
And I think for one of the few times that all of a sudden you just said, hey man, I'm just gonna tell it like it is.
I think we'll see who Jordan was as a competitor, but on some of the tougher questions about how he felt leaving to play baseball, or the emotion when his father was killed, or the bond he had with his teammates, I think Jordan will hold back. He'll talk in cliches, and we'll all want more. The number 2 prediction is, since MJ is gonna hold back, the best interview subject will be Phil Jackson. Phil's got a way with words. He's written about 10 books. He could talk to any player, no matter how talented or famous, and get them on the same page. If MJ was the Bulls' leader on the court, Phil was the leader off it. He'll have perspective that no one else has on basically every subject. There's so many interesting side stories here. Dennis Rodman's craziness, Scottie Pippen refusing to run the final play in the conference semis against the Knicks in '94, the friction with the front office. Phil will have the best insight because as head coach, he had to be on top of everything. The best interview will not be Dennis Rodman, because he'll say wild things. We already saw the Rodman documentary. He's not as insightful as Phil Jackson will be. And the number 1 prediction is The Last Dance will be exactly what sports fans need. Look, I've got big time respect for ESPN because they're releasing this thing about 2 months early because everyone's in quarantine. We have no sports of any kind to watch, not just basketball. The reviews so far say that The Last Dance will be a sports fan's dream, not necessarily anyone else. A natural comparison will be made to OJ Made in America, a multi-part series done by ESPN, but the OJ documentary was about basically everything other than football. I mean, it touched on football, but the main focus were issues in society. The Last Dance, instead, is really gonna focus on the court. It'll tell a little bit about Jordan's cultural impact, selling shoes, but for instance, Barack Obama and Bill Clinton are in the doc, talking basketball, nothing political. So I think The Last Dance will not let us down. It'll be awesome. Really, it's gonna quench that thirst we have for sports, like actual games, not politics, not society or anything else. Those are my predictions for The Last Dance. I am so excited for this, and I hope some of my predictions are wrong. I hope MJ isn't guarded, and he lets us in, and afterward we say, there's nothing I wanted more from that interview with Michael Jordan. I hope Phil isn't the best interview. There's some character we don't expect who's gonna blow us away. What I do know for sure is this will be the perfect escape until actual games come back. Support AM Hoops and click subscribe. Don't miss a daily NBA video.